Hi, welcome back to Dylan's Car Reviews. Today I've got this absolutely beautiful Porsche Cayman S with me. This car has a sports chrono pack, so it's got the PDK gearbox, the drive mode select, and of course it's got the launch control in it as well. So let's jump in and get straight to that. Now I love this Cayman S. This is a 718 Cayman S, so that means it does have the 2.5 litre turbocharged engine, but because it's the S, it's got the sports chrono pack on this one as well, so it actually gives it the PDK gearbox. It's a 2.5 litre engine, but it's got 345 brake horsepower and can do 0 to 60 in about 4.4 seconds. And thanks to that sports chrono, it's also got the drive mode select and it's got launch control. So let's have a look at what that means. With the sports chrono pack, you do also get the drive mode select as well, and it's just a little dial that you can turn round into sport, sport plus or individual mode. But my favourite part here is actually this little button in the middle. Now, remember when you were young and you used to play racing games and you had a button that you could press and it would give you a boost for about 10-15 seconds? This is basically that in real life. You press this and it unleashes the maximum power for 20 seconds while you're accelerating. How crazy is that? Down here as well, you can see this has been fitted with the different extras on it, so you do have a button to put the rear spoiler up or down manually, and you've got the sports exhaust, so if you press that it opens the valves and makes it a bit louder. Of course you've got your start stop in here as well, traction control, and you actually have this button here which can change the suspension setup as well into sports suspension, which honestly I've not used. I don't think you would really need to do that. It's quite a low car, it's a sporty car anyway. The suspension's harsh enough without playing around with that as well. Now another thing that you have in this 718 Cayman S is this touchscreen up here. Now the icons, as you can see, are nice and large, so it is very easy to use. And down behind the gear stick there you do have some buttons that you can press and use in combination with the touchscreen. So it's actually quite an easy system to use, and it is very quick and responsive as well. So there's actually not many problems with it that I've noticed so far. And the sat nav is great because you can put your route in, and as well as showing you on the screen here, you can actually make it show you on this digital display in there as well. So it means you're not having to drive and try and take your eyes off the road to look down at sat nav all the time. It's right there in front of you while you're driving, so you can keep a very safe view on the road as you go. And I'll tell you what, you get a lot of attention in this car. Wow, I've never had this much attention in any of the cars that I've done a review of before. Even the SQ7, as big and bright and loud as that was. I mean, this to me, if you don't really know about cars, you would probably pass by and think, oh, that looks like a nice car. But honestly, people are just looking, they're staring at me. I've had about 4 people come up and ask me questions about it. They'll want to know what I'm doing, what kind of car it is, how much it is. So even people that, I mean, these are just regular everyday people, they're out their walks, they're cycling past, and they're stopping and they're asking so many questions about the car. I love it, and obviously they like the car as well, and it's just such an attention grabber. It's really, really nice. You can't walk past this and not want to know more about it. Of course, as you can see, this one here does have the beautiful red brake calipers. It's also got the gloss black handles and the black air intake vents as well at the side there. So it's a very, very nice colour combination of this grey and black going on. Very, very popular these days. Now, one of the great advantages of the Porsche Cayman S, of course being a Porsche, is a mid-engined car. So what that means is that you do actually get two boots, or a boot and a frunk as some people like to call it. Now, for those of you that are wondering how comfortable is a 718 Porsche Cayman S, well, there you can see from the slightest bumps in the road there, you get through around the car a little bit, but that's expected of any car that is quite low. I mean, I've got a C-Class coupe. I've got a C-Class coupe and it's the AMG line, so it's got this slightly sportier suspension setup, and honestly it doesn't feel much worse than that. I think if I was going to buy one of these I wouldn't be put off by that. It's sort of expected. In terms of space inside the Cayman S, it's bigger than I was expecting. Getting in and out of the car, for me at least, is a bit funny to watch, but I'm a bigger guy, you know, like it's normal tasks are a bit difficult for me. But for an average person, to the average person, it probably wouldn't be that big a deal, to be honest. It is quite low and the steering wheel's right there where you're trying to get in. But for passengers, I imagine it would be fine because there's quite a lot of space. There's space in the middle between the two of you, and they've got plenty of legroom as well. So it's fine in that aspect. The seating position is a bit limited. The seating position is a bit limited. Of course, there's only so far back and forward that you can go in a car this small, and the backrest as well. Just with where it's positioned, you can't exactly lean it back, because like the way I do in my Mercedes, but it's still a very comfortable driving position. Of course, everything else is set up round about that, so it's not an issue. Unless you get back problems, but I'd imagine if so, you won't be buying a car that's low and sporty like this. The noise inside the cabin of the 718 Cayman S is a bit of a different story. It's quite loud. You can hear everything as you go, and of course you've got the exhaust as well, which the engine's right below where you're sitting, the exhaust is right behind you because of how small the car is. There's really nothing in between you and the mechanical aspects of this car, so yeah, you do actually feel everything with it, and it is noisy. You can probably hear that. This, well, it's just typical of Porsche. It's fantastic. The car is so well balanced because the engine is in the middle of the chassis, so you can literally throw this car about and it'll just stick to the road and you know exactly what it's doing at every turn. And even at that, if you're just driving around town normally, it's just such a smooth drive. You know exactly where the car is, you know how much you need to turn it. Again, that goes back to a little bit being the size of the car. I mean, you know the back of you is not too far behind and the front's not too far in front, and the sides are basically your shoulders, so it's very easy to manoeuvre about town, and it handles very well round bends and on kind of sportier settings as well. Just put it in a normal driving mode so you've got a better chance of hearing me here. Yeah, so the visibility is great. The windows are just in all the right places here. So of course, being a low car, the windscreen's quite a gradient there, but you can see very well through it. Your mirrors, they're quite big, so you can see a lot through them. And when you're checking your blind spot and you turn round, the rear window is just perfectly where you need it to be to check your blind spot. So again, you can see that probably better than in most other cars. So the visibility aspect of this, it's really good. The only thing I would say is the rear window is quite small, but as an experienced driver, I tend not to really look at that all too much anyway, so that's not a big deal to me. Now another thing with this as well that is quite annoying, so obviously the cabin noise itself is quite loud already, but the passenger seatbelt, it just rattles about if it's just left there hanging. So what I've actually done is I've had to clip it in while I'm driving just so that it's not rattling about, because it hits off the door at the side and it's just, it's infuriating. It's such a simple little oversight that, why have they not fixed that? I mean, this car's been around for a few years now. It came out in 2005, I want to say, was the first Cayman. Now surely that has been a problem since then. Why have they not thought of something to stop it? Just little tiny things now I'm picking, just trying to find something with it. But I mean, like I say, if there's no one there, just clip it in and that's it, problem solved. So I'm now on day 4 of driving the Porsche 718 Cayman S. So I think now I'm about to go and hand it back actually, so I think this is the best time to do a kind of quick summary of what I've thought. It's a beautiful car, it looks great. I've always loved Porsche, so I'm so grateful that I've had the chance to drive one for a whole week almost and really get a feel for the car. It is absolutely stunning. It's just great to drive. It's so well balanced. It sounds great because it's the S and has a sports exhaust. I've had the valves open the whole time and it's just absolutely incredible. But I must admit that the starting price in these is around just under £55,000, and spec'd up, they start to get up to the higher numbers pretty quickly, probably to around 70,000. And I just feel that if I'd spent £70,000 on this, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I would expect for that kind of money. But it is a beautiful, beautiful car. You can probably tell that inside the cabin, like I said earlier, is quite noisy. And after 4 days, it's starting to annoy me a little bit, and I'm looking forward to getting back into my Mercedes, which is a lot quieter than this. So I think long term that would probably get to you. And of course I've had to keep the seatbelt plugged in on the passenger side too, because it rattles around. But apart from that, I mean, these are just very small things. Apart from that, I absolutely love it. It sounds incredible, it gets a lot of attention, it's really quick. I mean, I've hardly touched the throttle at all, because you just never need all the power that this car has. It's about 345 brake horsepower, I'm sure. But I do love it. It's still putting a smile on my face, but I just don't know if I could own one permanently. I think just this week has been just the right amount for it to still be a pleasurable drive without it starting to wear me down a bit. One thing I do have to say is, even after 4 days, it's still quite comfortable to drive. I mean, the suspension is a bit harsh with it being a sports car and stuff, but it's nothing like unbearable. And the seats are very supportive as well, so very comfortable, and 10 out of 10 for that.